A very good evening, aspirants. Welcome to daily newspaper analysis of Shankar IAS Academy. Displayed here are the list of news articles that we are going to discuss today. As you can see, we have chosen news articles from different newspapers. So without much delay, let us get into the first news article discussion. Take a look at this news article. See, the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi has blamed the CM of Delhi for the delay in the appointments and constitution of statutory bodies. So in this news article discussion, let us know about Lieutenant Governor from the prelims perspective. Firstly, who is a Lieutenant Governor? See, a Lieutenant Governor is a representative of the President in a union territory. See, he is the main person in charge of these territories, but they have to work closely with the Council of Ministers of that union territory as well. Their job involves a lot of coordination and ensuring that the territory's administration runs smoothly. However, remember, not all union territories have the Lieutenant Governor. This position exists only in 3 of the union territories. They include Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Delhi and Puducherry. Also remember, Lieutenant Governor is appointed by the President for a tenure which is generally 5 years. And remember, the tenure is not secured. This means Lieutenant Governor can be removed by President anytime. Now let us see how someone can become a Lieutenant Governor, or let us see the qualification of the Lieutenant Governor. See, the first qualification is that he or she has to be an Indian citizen. Secondly, their age should be at least 35 years old. Thirdly, they should not be a member of either the parliament or a state legislature. And finally, they should not hold any other job that pays them. With this basic information, let us see the functions of Lieutenant Governor. See, firstly, the Lieutenant Governor represents the President and works based on the advice given by the Council of Ministers. This means that for more decisions, the Lieutenant Governor and the Minister have to agree. Secondly, in certain areas like police, public order and land, the Lieutenant Governor has special powers given by the President. This is essentially noted in Delhi, where the Lieutenant Governor can make important decisions in these fields. Apart from this, Lieutenant Governor also has discretionary powers. See, there are times where the Lieutenant Governor can make decisions without the Minister's advice. For example, if after an election no party has a clear majority, the Lieutenant Governor can decide who should try to form the government. Also, if there is a situation where the territory needs to be governed directly by the central government, that is as per the President's rule, the Lieutenant Governor can appoint advisors to help run the government. Also remember, there are slight differences between the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi and Puducherry. While the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi is also guided by the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Act 1991 and the Transaction of Business of the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Rules 1993, the Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry is guided mostly by the Government of Union Territories Act 1963. So, under the constitutional scheme, the Delhi Assembly has the power to legislate on all subjects except law and order and land. However, the Puducherry Assembly can legislate on any issue under the concurrent and state list. So these are all very important facts that you have to remember about Lieutenant Governor from the prelims perspective. In this news article discussion, we saw who is the Lieutenant Governor, how he is appointed, what are his or her responsibilities, and what are his or her functions. So with these learned points, and now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Now take a look at this news article. See, the Ministry of Heavy Industries stated that it has achieved 79% of its revised target for the number of electronic vehicles. This target was set up under the scheme called FAME2, or the Faster Adoption and Manufacturing of Hybrid and Electronic Vehicle in India 2. So the ministry has also stated that the EV penetration in electric two-wheelers has gone up from 1.8% in 2021 to 22 to 4.5% in 2022 to 23. Similarly, in the case of electric four-wheelers, it has an increase of 0.9% in financial year 2023. So in this news article discussion, let us understand about FAME2 from the prelims perspective. See, the primary goal of FAME India is to encourage the use of electric vehicles or the EVs by offering subsidies. So the FAME India targets all vehicle segments, which includes two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers and also buses. Remember, the scheme supports a wide range of technologies like mild hybrid, strong hybrid, plug-in hybrid and battery electric vehicle BEVs. Remember, until now there are two phases under this scheme. The first phase of this scheme was launched in 2015 and completed on March 31, 2019. Similarly, phase 2 started in April 2019 and it is still continuing with a more substantial budget and broader objectives. Remember, this scheme is overseen by the Department of Heavy Industries under the Ministry of Heavy Industries and Public Enterprises. Now let us quickly go through the features of phase 2 of AIM scheme. See, firstly, there is a strong emphasis on the electrification of public transportation, including buses and vehicles used for shared transport. Secondly, the scheme aims to support a broad array of electric vehicles through subsidies, which includes approximately 7,000 e-buses, 5 lakh e-3-wheelers, 55,000 e-4-wheeler passenger cars and 10 lakh e-2-wheelers. Thirdly, about 2,700 charging stations are planned across metros, million plus cities, smart cities and hilly state cities. Here the goal is to achieve at least one charging station is available within a 3-kilometer grid. Fourthly, incentives in the 3-wheeler and 4-wheeler segment are primarily for vehicles used for public transport or those registered for commercial purposes. In contrast, the 2-wheeler segment incentives focus on private vehicle. Finally, the scheme also proposes exchanging charging station along major highways connecting major city clusters. These stations will be placed on both sides of the highways at intervals of about 25 km. This will facilitate long distance travel by electric vehicles. So these are all some of the important facts that you have to remember about FAME India scheme. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Have a look at this news article. According to the news article, the Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority PFRDA recently announced some changes to the regulations of the National Pension System Trust and Pension Fund. These amendments aim to streamline various aspects of the NPS trust operation, including the process for appointing trustees, defining their terms and conditions, managing the board of trustees meeting and the appointment of CEO of the NPS trust. This is the crux of the news article given here. So in this news article discussion, let us understand about PFRDA from the prelims perspective. See, PFRDA is an organization created by the government through a special law passed by Parliament. This means it has the legal backing to perform its duties and make decisions related to pension fund in India. Remember, it operates under the Department of Financial Services, which is part of the Ministry of Finance. So what does PFRDA do? See, the PFRDA has a few key responsibilities, but all are centered around the National Pension Scheme NPS and the Atal Pension Yojana APY. These two pivotal schemes aim to provide a stable and secure pension to India. Now, the responsibility of PFRDA is to regulate this pension fund to ensure they operate fairly and transparently. This includes making sure that the companies managing these funds are doing so in the best interest of the contributors. So besides this regulatory work, PFRDA also promotes the NPS and APY. This means it works to make more people aware of these schemes and encourages them to participate in the schemes. This will help to secure their financial future. PFRDA also appoints various agencies to help manage the pension system. Firstly, the pension fund managers. See, these are the experts who decide where to invest the pension fund to get the best returns safely. Secondly, Central Record Keeping Agency CRA. This agency keeps track of all the contributions, investments and returns in a detailed and organized manner. Finally, the PFRDA aims to ensure that the pension sector grows in an organized, wealthy way. This means they keep an eye on how the pension scheme are expanding, making sure they are sustainable and beneficial to all participants. So these are all certain facts that you have to remember about PFRDA. PFRDA is an organization created by the government and it functions under the Department of Financial Services, which is part of Ministry of Finance. Its main purpose is to operate freely and transparently with respect to the National Pension System NPS and the Atal Pension Yojana APY. So these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Look at this news article. Recently, southern states have raised a claim that they have not been receiving their fair share as per the present scheme of financial devolution. They have raised issues about their less than proportionate share of receipt in tax revenue. Apart from this issue, the article also highlights the concepts of financial devolution, challenges therein, and also potential solutions. So in this news article discussion, we shall understand some of the important points from the news article discussion using our mains answer writing discussion. Let me read out the question for you. Panchayati Raj system in India requires second generation reforms to secure grassroots development through democratic grassroots governance. Comment. See, this question can be asked in GS paper 2 under the syllabus given here. Here the only directive word is comment. So we can either go for or against this given statement. In this answer, we are going to support the question statement. So in the introduction part, we can quote the constitutional provision and about the first generation reforms, and we can say why second generational reforms are called for. Remember, entire intro part has to cover 3 to 4 lines if it is a 10 mark, or it can be of 2 small paragraphs. If it is a 250 words, that is a 15 marker. After completing the introduction, coming to the main body of the answer, here we have to elaborate on 2 important things. Firstly, issue in Panchayati Raj in brief, and then provide the alternative solution addressing the contemporary needs. Finally, in the conclusion part, we can mention any example of some changes taking place recently or how it can empower the democratic decentralized governance in India if all the second generational solutions are implemented in a large scale. So this is how we are going to answer this particular question. Now moving on to the introduction part, here you can write that democratic governance was introduced in India by the 73rd and 74th Constitution Amendments, which came into force on April 24 and June 1st, 1993 respectively. It initiated a process with standardized features like election every 5 years, reservation for historically marginalized communities and women, the creation of participatory institutions, the establishment of state finance commissions SFCs, the creation of district planning committees DPCs, and so on. These were the first generation reforms. However, in some or the other way, they have failed to meet the major objectives of decentralization. So this way you can write the introduction part with respect to the demand of the question. Now coming to the main body of the answer, firstly you have to write points with respect to the systematic failures in Panchayati Raj system. See, firstly there is no perceptible hand holding and support by the state, either from the political class or from the bureaucrats, to foster decentralized governance. This is the first issue. Secondly, dependency on state machinery for their functioning. See, from the beginning itself, whether it was postponing elections or the failure to constitute SFCs and DPCs, it became evident that states can violate the various provisions of Parts 9 and 9A with impunity, which is a very big impediment for the real-time functioning of local governments. Apart from this, the village panchayats face fiscal weaknesses as well. Firstly, the local government expenditure as a percentage of total public sector expenditure comprising union, state and local government is only around 7% as compared to 24% in Europe. This highlights the fiscal weaknesses of village panchayats. Secondly, the own source revenue of local government is only little over 2%. This also restricts village panchayats to implement its own scheme or plan tailored to the needs of a particular area. So you can highlight these systemic issues in the Panchayati Raj system, and you can move on to discuss second generational reforms that are needed. See, the first thing in the second generational reforms that is required is effective devolution. See, the 2013 Export Committee laid out in detail how to achieve this effective devolution through the device of activity mapping. See, here activity mapping is a quick and feasible way to identify gaps in the coverage of services by inventorying all stakeholders' activities and locating them geographically. So in this sense, activity mapping involves giving the Gram Panchayats the responsibilities of asset creation, operation and maintenance, and also involving it in the planning process through the Gram Panchayats. It also includes giving the middle tier responsibilities for human capital development and giving higher levels of government the responsibility of policy, standard and monitoring of outcomes. Secondly, the massive amounts of money earmarked for poverty alleviation should be directly sent to Gram Panchayat accounts. In addition to this, states have to be provided with financial incentives for encouraging effective devolution of fund, function and functionaries at grassroots levels. Apart from this, district planning based on grassroots inputs received from the village, intermediate and district level through people's participation in the Gram and Ward Sabha should be made operational. Along with this, social audit should also be made a mandatory feature. This will ensure transparency and make the process much more participatory. Finally and most importantly, empowerment of Panchayat members, especially the women, through adequate training so that they remain no more a mere proxy for their male counterparts. So you can write these points in the second part of the answer. Moving on to the conclusion part, here you can write that while the Panchayati Raj system has played a significant role in decentralizing power and promoting local democracy in India, second generation reforms are imperative to address existing shortcomings and secure grassroots development through democratic grassroots governance. So by focusing on enhancing financial autonomy, administrative empowerment, capacity building, inclusivity and addressing issues of political interference, India can strengthen its Panchayati Raj system and realize its full potential as a catalyst for grassroots development and inclusive governance. So you can write all these points for this particular question. Make note of it. So in this news article discussion, we saw in detail about the issues or the shortcomings in the Panchayati Raj system in India and why it requires second generation reforms. And we saw some of the solutions to the issue. So with these learned points, now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Take a look at this news article. Recently, the Financial Stability and Development Council (FSDC) discussed potential measures to control unauthorized online lending apps during a meeting. It was chaired by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitaraman. Here, the FSDC includes all financial sector regulators like the Reserve Bank of India and addressed issues related to macro financial stability in the meeting. So in this news article discussion today, let us understand about the Financial Stability and Development Council (FSDC) from the prelims perspective. So the Financial Stability and Development Council (FSDC) is an autonomous body constituted by the Government of India. This body was constituted by an executive order of the Union Government as a non-statutory apex body under the Ministry of Finance in 2010. See the recommendations of the Raghuram Rajan Committee 2008 on the financial sector reforms led to the creation of this FSDC. Now talking about the members of the council, see the Finance Minister is the chairman of the FSDC and the council includes heads of the financial sector regulators like Reserve Bank of India (RBI), Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority (IRDA), Securities and Exchange Board of India (SEBI), and Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority (PFRDA). In addition to that, Financial Secretary, Chief Economic Advisor, Secretary of the Department of Financial Services, then Minister of State responsible for the Department of Economic Affairs (DEA), Secretary of the Department of Electronics and Information Technology, then the Revenue Secretary and Chairman of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India (IBBI) are also the members of FSDC. Remember, this council also has a subcommittee. The FSDC subcommittee has been set up under the chairmanship of the Governor of RBI. This subcommittee meets more often than the full council itself. All members of the FSDC are also the members of the subcommittee. Additionally, all 4 deputy governors of RBI and additional secretary of Department of External Affairs, who is in charge of FSDC, are also the members of the subcommittee. Remember, the Financial Stability Unit (FSU) of RBI is the secretariat of the FSDC subcommittee. So these are all the members of the FSDC and the subcommittee. Now moving on to the functions of FSDC. See, this body mainly deals with the macroprudential and financial regularities in the entire financial sector of India. This body also envisages to strengthen and institutionalize the mechanism of maintaining financial stability, financial sector development, inter-regulatory coordination and the inter-regulatory coordination. Moving on to the responsibilities of FSDC. See, the first responsibility is to bring the stability in the financial sector. Secondly, to bring development in the financial sector. Thirdly, to coordinate inter-regulatory bodies and to promote financial literacy. Apart from this, its responsibility is to ensure financial inclusion and it takes care of the functioning of large financial conglomerates as well. Apart from this, coordinating India's international interface with financial sector bodies like Financial Action Task Force FATF, then Financial Stability Board FSB is also the responsibility of FSDC. So these are all very important facts that you have to remember about FSDC. It is an autonomous body constituted by the Government of India. Since it was constituted by an executive order, it is not a statutory body. Then we saw about the members of FSDC and some of its functions and responsibilities. So these learned points. Now let us move on to the next news article discussion. Look at this news article. According to the news article, recently the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs CCEA approved 340 rupees per quintal as the fair and remunerative price FRP for the sugarcane season 2024-25 at sugar recovery rate of 10.25%. So in this news article discussion, let us understand the basics of fair and remunerative price FRP from the prelims perspective. Due to the ongoing issue, there might be a question in prelims examination. That is why we are taking this particular topic. So firstly, what is FRP? See, FRP stands for fair and remunerative price. It is the price declared by the government which mills are legally bound to pay to farmers for the cane procured from them. The payment of FRP across the country is governed by the Sugarcane Control Order 1966, which mandates payment within 14 days of the date of delivery of the cane. See, mills have the option of signing an agreement with farmers which would allow them to pay the FRP in installments as well. So here comes the question, how FRP is fixed. See, the concept of FRP is based on the Rangarajan Committee report on reorganizing the sugarcane industry. Basically, the FRP is based on the recovery of sugar from the cane. Here, the sugar recovery is the ratio between sugar produced versus cane crushed expressed as a percentage. Remember, the central government announces fair and remunerative price which are determined on the recommendation of the Commission for Agricultural Cost and Prices CACP and announced by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs CCEA, which is chaired by Prime Minister. So in addition to fair and remunerative price, state advised price, that is SAP, are announced by the government of key sugarcane producing states. SAP is generally higher than FRP. In addition to the above fact, the graph given here shows that the price level of FRP have shown a gradual increase over a period of time. So now we understood about the basics of fair and remunerative price. Now let us understand the significance of implementing fair and remunerative price or FRP. See, as we saw already, FRP is paid by sugar factories to the sugarcane growers against supply of sugarcane. So about 5 crore people, that is sugarcane farmers and their family, will be benefited by this proposal. Thousands of the farm laborers are associated with the cane growing, and thus payment of FRP to the growers directly benefits them a lot. Secondly, there are about 5 lakh workers employed in the sugarcane factory and the ancillary activities, and their livelihood depends on regular supply of sugarcane by the growers. So fixation of FRP of sugarcane facilitates adequate production and thus availability and supply of cane to sugar factories. Even though it has some advantages, it has some challenges therein. The challenges in fair and remunerative price for sugarcane in India include inconsistent government pricing policies, delayed payment by sugar mills, and inadequate enforcement mechanisms. Additionally, conflicts with World Trade Organization rules arises due to India's subsidiary program for sugarcane farmers. This can be viewed as distorting international trade and affecting global sugar prices. So balancing domestic agricultural interest with international trade obligations presents a complex challenge for India's sugarcane sector. So these are all certain important facts that you have to remember about the FRP. So these learned points. Now let us move on to the next part of the news article discussion, which is the preliminary practice question discussion. Now look at this first question about Lieutenant Governor. 3 statements are given and you have to find how many statements given here is or are incorrect. See, here the first and second statement are correct. Lieutenant Governor is appointed by President of India and he can be removed by President of India at any time. Second statement is also correct. Union Territory of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Delhi and Puducherry have the position of Lieutenant Governor. Now the third statement is incorrect here because the special authority of Lieutenant Governor over police, public order and land is specific to Delhi under the Constitution and does not automatically apply to all Union Territory. So here the correct answer for the question is option A, only 1. Moving on, this question is about PFRDA. First statement says it is a non-statutory body established under Department of Financial Services, Ministry of Finance. This statement is incorrect because PFRDA is a statutory body. It was established by an Act of Parliament. Now the second statement says PFRDA's responsibility includes the appointment of pension fund managers and the Central Record Keeping Agency, CRA. This statement is actually correct. So the correct answer for this question is option B, 2 only. Moving on, look at this question about FSDC. Prime Minister of India is the chairman of Financial Stability and Development Council, FSDC. This statement is incorrect because Finance Minister is the chairman of FSDC. Second statement says FSDC is a statutory body functioning under the Ministry of Finance. This statement is also incorrect because FSDC is a non-statutory body functioning under the Ministry of Finance. So the correct answer for this question is option D, neither 1 nor 2. Moving on, look at this question about FAME 2. Two statements are given and you have to find which statement given here is or correct. So here the first statement is incorrect because FAME 2 target a wide range of vehicle segment including 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers, 4-wheelers and buses, and supports various technologies like mild hybrid, strong hybrid, plug-in hybrid and battery electric vehicles. It is not just the BEVs in private 4-wheeler segment as mentioned in the statement. So this statement is incorrect. Now the second statement given here is actually correct. It is implemented by Department of Heavy Industries. So the correct answer here is option B, only 2. With this we came to the end of the news article discussion. If you like the video, hit like, do comment and don't forget to subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy YouTube channel. Now thank you so much for listening.